Hello Admirals and welcome back to my channel where I talk to you about Battlefleet Gothic, the space fleet game based in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. In this video, which was actually highly requested which is, I wasn't expecting it, but quite a few people have asked for it, I'm going to talk about Demonships. Demonships. They are very much a thing in Battlefleet Gothic the game. In this video I'm going to tell you what they are, what are the rules around them, and a little bit of tactics around them. They are a sneaky little thing you can play in a Chaos fleet. So, yeah, let's check out, well, what actually are Demonships to start, and then let's go into all the rules and actual BFG. So the lore has Demonships and possessed vessels of chaos, and no one really knows how they're created. Some say that ship crews sacrifice themselves to the dark gods, seeking immortality for that demonic servitude. Some say they're ships of damned crew, condemned by acts so horrible and heinous that no one can describe them, and that obviously gets the eye of the chaos gods. Some just willfully, captains and crew, give themselves over to the dark gods because they think they can do better with them. And then some ships are just lost in the warp and then damned to be in the warp and slowly but surely get taken over by demons. And they're lost for millennia at a time, and next time we see the actual ship, it's a demon ship crewed by a bunch of demons, or crew that kind of is associated with demons. And the lore kind of goes into, it's very, very similar to sort of the ghost ships of our traditional sort of maritime culture, where they go back to the earliest parts of the Imperium, where crew would see ghostly apparition of ships, or navigators would believe that ghost ships and demon ships are following them in the wake of the warp. And navigators that have been then interrogated afterwards, or even renegade navigators that are interrogated after, suggest that it seems like either an actual demon ship, ghost ship that looks similar to normal vessels is chasing them through the warp, or it can even just look like an actual demon that you would expect. So there's some really different aspects to demon ships that you can kind of go wild with from the lore's perspective. So you can kind of make demon ships look how you want in many respects, which is pretty cool. So what about demon ships in the actual game itself? So as I said, they can kind of look however you want. The lore kind of lets you go. However, in the original game, there were actually a model produced to create your own demon ship, and this is it. So what it actually was a set of bits that you could stick onto a regular Chaos Cruiser, which are these port and starboard side weapons, batteries, stroke launch bays, along with this sort of corrupted lance sort of array along the spine, dorsal weapon, and then a corrupted bridge as well. So that's what you could get in a pack to create yourself an original possessed stroke demon ship, and that's what you could do. However, the rules allowed you to create various different cruisers, grand cruisers, and battleships, and heavy cruisers that could all become demon ships. So these are a couple of examples of my demon ships that I have here. I kind of have a Khorne one, which added the Juggernaut. I think many people have seen that before. Got a Nurgle one, which is all kind of infested, Nurgly and all that. And then I wanted to make like an actual true sort of old school sort of ghost ship, reminiscent of like our own maritime tales in many respects, kind of ghostly apparition. So this is the one I came up with, and this is kind of to represent my my thoughts, the Flying Dutchman, per se. I don't have a tzeentch or slaanesh one, and I don't have a battleship, which I think is probably a remiss of me. So if you have some ideas in the comments on doing that, that would be great. But certainly in the rules, you can create a demon battleship, or a demon grand cruiser, heavy cruiser, or regular cruisers like these. So how does that work? The rules actually were in the original Armada book. And you could create a big battleship, and so any actual Chaos ship you could pick, which is a battleship, grand cruiser, heavy cruiser, or cruiser, they could become a demon ship, and you would just need to add on these points to that ship to create the actual ship. So you could have a despoiler class battleship, for example, and then you would just take that and then you just add 50 points on to its general cost, and then you can create an actual battleship demonship with it. In many respects, the Terminus Est, which is classified as in the lore as a demonship, you could do that, which is pretty cool. There's some other sort of select rules around demonships and everything, but I'll go with that into a second. So some of these things kind of ignore some of the traditional rules of Chaos Fleet. So, for example, even if this ship is the most expensive ship, traditionally Chaos Warmaster needs to be placed on that most expensive ship, but a demon ship doesn't count. So even if it is the most expensive ship, you don't need to put it on that ship. As well as that, exterminatus weapons and exterminatus can't go on demon ships. You can't use demon ships to do that. And the reason will become apparent, I think, when I go through the rules a bit more. Basically, they come in, they don't start on the board and they come in later. So the ability to be able to bring on a ship anywhere on the board and then do an exterminatus would be a little bit game breaking, I think. So they can't carry exterminatus weapons and can't be used for doing that particular objective in that scenario. Leadership is rolled for them as normal, like any other ship as well, so that's pretty standard. But one critical thing that you can also do with these ships, you can put marks of chaos on them as well. So maybe you can't have a War Master, but you can have a mark of Nurgle or a mark of Khorne, which will become fun when I talk about tactics in a little bit. Okay, so you've bought a demon ship to put into your Chaos Fleet, and it's this cruiser right here. We're going to just say it's a regular old Carnage class cruiser. So how does it work? Well, a demon ship actually is kept off the table at the start of the game, and then you deploy the rest of your fleets as you normally would, and you, as per that particular mission, and any rules associated with that. Then the demon ships are actually lurking in the warp. They're waiting for their moment to come in and ambush their prey. So they're waiting to be summoned by your Chaos Warmaster, essentially. And they are aiming to come in looking for souls. That's what their real purpose is. So when you want to bring the Chaos Demon ship on, in the end phase of any of the Chaos players' turn, after the first one, you can't do it first turn, right? They may enter play from the warp. And now how that works is you select either a friendly or enemy ship that you're going to target. And it has to be a capital ship. It can't be escorts. It has to be, because they're looking for souls, right? So they're interested, really, in big. These guys have got like 10,000 to 20,000 people on board. So, they're going for them. They don't really care about escorts. So you select either a friendly or enemy capital ship. And that's what you're aiming for, essentially. And then you can position the demon ship within 20 centimeters of that ship. Right? So you've got 20 centimeters and you can put it within 20 centimeters of the stem. And now you can place it in anywhere within 20. You can place it facing any direction you want. You can place it over here if you want. Any direction you want, doesn't matter, but it's got to be outside 20. Okay? That's the first bit. Now you've selected where you want to place it. Within 20, I should say outside of 20. So let's just make sure it's outside 20, right? And then you need to roll 4d6 on the scatter dice. So you need 4d6. And this will tell you measure from this point, and it will tell you the direction where actually you are definitely putting it. So I rolled that. So I rolled a 10, a 14, 17 centimeters kind of towards me. So I measure out 17 centimeters towards me, and I put it there, and that's where you transition. Simple as that. Now, if you roll the hit on the scatter dice, you come down exactly where you wanted to. But you'll need a scatter dice for it. Now, if by doing the scatter dice, you amazingly manage to scatter that you end up in base-to-base contact with your enemy ship or a friendly ship, just put it 1 centimeter outside of its range. It can't be in base-to-base contact with the ship that it maybe land on. And that could be enemy or friend. So you just place it 1 centimeter out of that so it doesn't come into base-to-base contact. And the other thing is, if it comes down on any celestial phenomenon like gas clouds, asteroids, it's totally unaffected by those. You just need to place it down where you can. It is completely unaffected by those things. Same with the sort of blast markers and things like that. You can place it down, move it to where you possibly can, essentially. You've got to be kind of sensible with it, essentially. But the ship is not affected by that celestial phenomenon. Now, you have placed your ship, you've rolled, you've seen where it's going, etc., etc. It actually hasn't quite materialized in the real world yet. So it has pierced the veil of the warp, and it's come in, but it's still a Spectre ship. So, on the turn that it comes in, it's still a Spectre, and so it can't do anything, it can't shoot, it can't release ordnance if you've got a ship that does that. It can't do teleport attacks, can't board, nothing like that in that turn it came in. And additionally, nothing can fire at it, nothing can attack it at all. So if it even comes down, when you place it and it comes down on top of ordnance markers like torpedoes or bombers, it's totally unaffected by those as well. Essentially, for all intents and purposes, your enemy and your friends can see that there's a signature of a ship, but they can't quite work out what's going on, and so it's still a Spectre. And with that, you can remain a Spectre for as long as you want as the Chaos player. But to be able to use it and maneuver it and fire it, you need to make a choice to make it sort of materialize at the end of your Chaos turn, any actual Chaos player turn. You can make it then actually become a ship, and it gets to move and shoot as per any other regular ship, essentially. But at that end of that Chaos player's phase, where they choose to basically materialize, they need to pass essentially a test, and it's a 2-up test. So you need to roll 1d6. I got a 3, so it comes in. If you roll and it materializes. If you rolled a 1, then it stays a Spectre, and you've got to wait your turn, essentially. Now, you've materialized it, you can move it as normal. It can then actually leave whenever it wants as well, and then it can come back exactly the same way as I just talked about. So, and you don't need, unlike other ships which need to pass leadership tests to disengage, a demon ship does not need to do that. It can just be removed from the board, but then it proceeds, if you want to bring it back, which you can, if it hasn't been killed, you can bring it back and do exactly the same process. So you would place it down where you want, roll the 4d6, wait your turn for it to fully materialize, and then try a pass, a 2+ save to bring it back in, which is, so you can bring it in and out of reality as much as you want, essentially. So that's a fun tactical element, and I'll talk to you about in a second if you want to play that sort of game. So that actual method is called haunting in the book, which is quite amazing. And if it's taken some damage, then you can disengage it. It can come back a little bit repaired. Now, it can't come back ever with more hit points than it ever started with. So if it's a cruiser like this, it can only ever have 8 hit points. It can't have more. Battleships, 12, etc. Grand cruisers, 10. So that's the max you can ever do. However, if you do bring it on, it does some damage, it has some damage back, and then you disengage it and you want to bring it back, well, you can try and repair that damage as it comes back into real space. And you roll dice, and if you get a 1, 2, or 3, it doesn't return with any extra hit points. But if you get a 4 or 5, it gets a hull point back. Or a 6, 2 hull points back. If you're a battleship, you get to add extra +1 for that, which is cool. It's a unique opportunity here. So if your demon ship is getting damaged, there's potential that you can bring it back healthy again, to a degree. And so if you brought it on, it got damaged, you take it off and you leave it in the warp for 2 turns, you get a +1 to those rolls as well. So, and you get a +1 for every actual turn it spends in the warp too. So if you've got a long game planned and you bring it on, gets hurt straight away, and then you take it off for 3 turns, it can come back with 3 extra bonuses, I suppose, is the best way of describing it, 3 pluses. So it's you can see the tactical elements, I think, already there. So a little bit more FAQ, I suppose, on the rules here for Demonships. Because there is a few, because of the eccentricities of the rules, there are a few probably strange sort of interactions that occur. If they materialize and scatter off the board, you just put them on the board. So that you can just put them on the board. That's perfectly fine. And you can't squadron Demonships. So you can't have multiple. You can't have a squadron of 2 Carnages, for example, and you can't squadron them together, popping up and then hitting someone with like 30 odd weapons batteries. That's a no-no. So no squadroning Demonships. That would be way too powerful. Now, I think I mentioned this earlier, but when the ship materializes in the first turn where it's a Spectre, it can't move, shoot, or do anything. But it can't also be moved into, boarded, shot at, or interact with ordnance or anything like that as well. So when it's a Spectre, it's essentially on the board as a placeholder until you decide to bring it into actual play. Now, I did say earlier with when it materializes and it's a Spectre, if it materializes in and you've placed it and it's in thingy with a Celestial, it ignores it while it's a Spectre, but then when it materializes, then you apply the effects of a Celestial phenomenon then. So if it materializes, for example, in an asteroid field, you can attempt to prevent the damage to it, but you only need to apply it when it actually physically is on the past its Spectre phase, essentially. And I suppose victory points. How do the victory points aspect to this? So essentially, if it disengages once through its pop-in, pop-out methodology, I suppose, you would count it as having been disengaged. And it doesn't matter how many times it does it. If it does it once, then the opponent will get the victory points as if it was being disengaged normally like any other ship. And that's the same for if it's crippled. You would get the victory points associated with when it's crippled and disengaged. Now, if you have a demon ship that is crippled, you disengage it and it repairs its hit points like it can, comes back, and it's no longer crippled, they will, let me get the wording right, they will still count as disengaged for the purposes of the victory points, but they're no longer crippled. So if you think of it as a Chaos player, if you have a crippled demon ship, you send it into the warp, it repairs itself, that could help reduce down the victory points against you, because they will no longer be crippled, and therefore they don't get those points for that. So it is a little bit of a thought process when you're using these. If it's like 1 or 2 points off being repaired in the warp, maybe you want to throw it back into the warp to get that chance to repair it, so your opponent doesn't get those crippled stroke disengaged victory points. Okay, tactics time. I think if you've stuck this far, you can already kind of see the tactical implications of using demon ships, or a couple of demon ships. There is obviously a risk with that. You may roll a couple of ones and they not come in, and they may not materialize, etc., etc. But the likelihood is they probably will. And so the tactical element is you can keep a couple of ships or 1 or 2 off the board, and then materialize it very close to the enemy, within 20 centimeters if you hit the scatter dice properly. But potentially, even with some of the ships that you've got with the range that Chaos has, it doesn't really matter if it does scatter a little bit, because some ships do have 60 centimeter weapons. That's what Chaos Fleet is very renowned for. So where it scatters isn't overly concerning, I think. The direction you are aiming is what's pretty much the critical part, and depending on the ship you're using. But so, for example, if you're using, a slaughterer which has a 30 centimeter range, then potentially you could scatter outside. But if you're using something like a murder or a Hades, which have 45 to 60 centimeter guns, then unless you roll incredibly crazy on the scatter dice, the likelihood is you're going to be in range. So the ability to be able to pop up a ship which is, has significant weapons, either on the flank to support your own ships, or as a lone body to harry, or then to pop up behind an enemy. In those fleet engagements are quite strong. So suddenly your enemy has a ship that they need to deal with on their flank or behind them. That is incredibly powerful. Not really any other fleet can do that. Necrons and Eldar are fast enough, and Dark Eldar are fast enough to get around you, but these can just pop up. And your enemy knows that this is just going to pop up somewhere. So it's an incredibly powerful, maneuverable ship that you can use. So definitely using that to the advantage is really good. Similarly, no one wants a demon battleship or grand cruiser with heavy weapons or lances turning up near their lines and absolutely decimating a pretty good formation. I really like the thought of popping one of these up to, usually carriers and ordnance carriers are kept at the back to try and then maybe savvy admirals would keep an escort or a light cruiser around them, or another cruiser to babysit it. But one of these popping up, or even a battleship popping up to completely annihilate a carrier group or a single carrier, could be an incredibly powerful thing to do. Just think a Carnage class cruiser with 16 weapons batteries popping up and just decimating a Dictator class from the rear arc. It's just that's an incredibly powerful thing to do, and it allows you to then gain ordnance superiority very quickly. So certainly something that I would use would be to pop up a very powerful gunboat, maybe even a Grand Cruiser, to absolutely try and one-shot a carrier of some sort, or an escort squadron looking to sort of secure objectives, etc. Additionally, because you can put a Mark of Chaos on these, I wouldn't sniff at using... I'm not a huge fan of the Mark of Slaanesh. It's not, in my view, the most powerful mark. Being able not to be boarded with Nurgle and doubling your boarding value with Khorne is really, really useful tactically, usually in the fleet. And a Mark of Tzeentch, which gives you the extra reroll, you're always going to fail leadership tests. So having a reroll, really useful, and it's great. Leadership is important, but it's something that you may not really overly consider when you're looking at Slaanesh. It's got to be within a certain distance for it to be effective. Suddenly, it makes it very, very popular if you have a gunboat popping up near your enemy lines that can then move in and cause damage. And bear in mind, Mark of Slaanesh gives you a -1 to their leadership. Demonships have inherently a -1 to leadership, and it's cumulative. So suddenly, a ship with a Mark of Slaanesh does -2 leadership to any ship with within its chaos bubble, for one of it, which is 15 centimeters. So suddenly, you could be reducing down the leadership of all ships by 2. Now, if you put a gunboat into a line and then it's not being able to either brace or potentially send out its ordnance or reload, suddenly you've got a very powerful ship in the line. So again, it is very, very sneaky in my opinion, but you can kind of see popping up a very powerful ship which reduces the enemy's leadership in, and then you can kind of fire at will. It's sneaky, evil, very chaos. And the ability then for it to do its weapons, and then if it takes some hits back, who cares? Zone it out and try and repair it. It's almost unheard of. I can't really think of any other rules in the game which allows you to repair damage on ships. This is one of them. I can't even think of any others off the top of my head. I'm not sure. Happy for people to tell me in the comments if there are, but I'm pretty sure this is the only way to do it. So Demonships, the fact that they can repair themselves and then pop back up and do it again, an incredibly powerful tactic, and certainly I think chaos inducing and chaos admirals, you should definitely be looking at Demonships in your fleet for giggles. And who else wants a Demonship battleship popping up in a line? I think I'm going to have to do that at some point. I think I need to do a Chaos Demonship battleship. How have I not got that already? Crazy. Let me know in the comments, Admirals, if you have any tactics and thoughts on how you would use Demonships. There you have it, Admirals. That's what Demonships are all about. Just a little bit of understanding of what they are in the rules and how to use them. They are quite a unique vessel in the actual game itself. They nothing really else kind of operates similar to them. They're a very interesting aspect of the game. I don't think they would be considered super meta per se, I think, but they are certainly a fun thing you can bring to a game, and it is a surprise. No one likes to suddenly have a ship materialize out of nowhere in your back line or on your flank. So if you're up for the sneakiness, then there are definitely some fun things you can do with the ship. They're probably really strong against more slow-moving fleets. Against faster fleets like Necrons and Elder, they may be caught out a little bit with their own speed and range. That might be a bit tricky. But being able to add marks of chaos onto them as well is another hilarious factor you can add in. Materializing, for example, a demon ship that has a mark of slaanesh on it, which reduces leadership, etc., on your enemies, is an interesting and difficult thing to deal with if you're the opponent. So certainly plenty of little tricks you can play around with the ship. Definitely worth giving a go. And yeah, let me know if you've actually used any demon ships in your games, and if you plan to, and how you plan to use them in your Chaos fleets. Let me know in the comments what you think. If I haven't got a tzeentch or slaanesh ship, so for demon ships, so suggestions on how I'd make one of them. Let me know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, Admirals. It helps BFG get further out there with the more that occurs. So hopefully you liked the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers, everyone.